Hey, hello and welcome. How do you do? My name is Miss Tina and you are listening to Squazeeland, the occasional dose of my opinions, reviews and reactions. It's very nice to meet you. This is my first podcast and hopefully you are going to like it. As you can probably hear it, I'm not really an English speaker, so my first language isn't English, but I'm trying to do this podcast in order to better my English. And I think it's a perfect opportunity, and hopefully you actually like my accent or things like that. I really do hope that my voice isn't as annoying as I think it is. Because sometimes, when someone listens to his or her own or their own voices, it sounds weird. But hopefully you actually like it. I want to give a voice to my thoughts, and that's why I thought that it could be a great idea to start a podcast because I like to speak. I like to talk about movies, series, books, and everything else, anime and manga. And this is sort of the profile of Squazeeland. It's my land. It's where Miss Tina reacts to One Piece chapter, or at least I try to review One Piece chapters and maybe One Piece episodes too, and probably other mangas and animes and films and series and books, whichever comes first. I do actually have a blog where I started to collect my older reviews, but that's just a blog and it's not even in English. So I try to translate them to English and hopefully they will be the main material for my podcast. And of course, since One Piece is usually weekly published, I know there is going to be a break next week, or that's what they told me at least. So hopefully there will be more podcasts from here now on. Let's jump right into it. The first chapter I'm going to talk about is our current chapter, which is chapter 1035. Imagine a manga having 1035 chapters and still being quite popular. That's really a rare thing. We are going to talk about mangas which have this many chapters, but that's something for another time. So in One Piece, currently we had a fight between Sanji and Queen, and our current chapter focuses on Zoro versus King, as the title suggests. So the title is very straightforward. On the cover page, we finally get, I'm so happy about it, we finally get a cover story. And this time it is about Germa 66. I always wondered what happened to them. And last week I was like, I wish we could know something more about them, And voila. I think many of us actually wanted to know what happened to them and what happened to Jinbei and his crew. Maybe we won't get that story of the fishermen, how they escaped or what happened back then, but at least now we get a chance to know what happened to Germa 66, why weren't they at the reverie, and so on and so forth. So I hope for a good cover story and not something like Jinbei's cover story, which was, I didn't like that. I actually liked the whole Cake Island's other cover story about Lola's father. At least that was something amusing to some extent, of course. I know cover stories tend to drag out, but I think we all like Germa 66 characters, Judge and all the G brothers and sister, of course, Reiju as well. So I'm hoping for an interesting and entertaining cover story. Now, for the chapter itself, the chapter starts with Sanji defeating Queen, and Queen is knocked out unconscious, and eventually Sanji falls down unconscious. But unlike Queen, Sanji will probably be tended by the pleasure hall girls, and he will probably wake up among them. So that's nice for him. And we get a nice sort of connection between him and the girl because of the mouse. But I really didn't like in last chapter when I saw that mouse and that girl, and the girl was looking for a mouse. Where are you, Chuji? I was like, really? Is that necessary? But now I think the more that I think about it, it's like, okay, I guess it's okay. But I really didn't like it. Now I understand why Oda did it, but I still don't really agree with it. It is too childish for me, at least. So, and then we will move on to the big event of the chapter, Zoro versus King. Brilliant. I mean, I really like the fighting. Zoro's fights are always visually stunning, so they are very astonishing. I really, really like them. And of course, the big reveal was none other than King's face being shown finally. I didn't know what to expect. I knew it from the spoilers. When I was browsing through Facebook, I actually saw a spoiler saying that King's face will be revealed, but I haven't seen his face because I tend to, avoid spoilers whenever I can. I used to read a lot of spoilers, but then I figured that I can enjoy chapters better when I don't read spoilers, right? I mean, yeah, it kind of spoils the fun. Especially some people in the spoiler sections are just very discouraging, and you are like, I want to like this chapter, but people won't let me like it because people try to influence you in a bad way, and I don't like that. I like to enjoy the chapter. I just like to read it, and that's all. So I didn't get spoiled on his face, and I was glad that I didn't. I actually really like his looks. I have to admit, he looks kind of hot, and in One Piece's world, I think King might be in the top 3 for the top 3 hottest guys in One Piece. When you think of anime characters in One Piece, you don't really see someone hot. Katakuri, maybe hot for someone. Absalom, absolutely not. Dr. Halbwag, absolutely not. Perospero, no way. Holdy Jones, no. That creepy guy. Well, there were many creepy guys on Fishman Island, but, Wanda Deckham, for example, and even Rob Lucci, they aren't sexy, or hot at all. And they were bad guys, but now we get a hot bad guy. And that's something, and he's probably in the top 3 in the hottest guy contest. Zoro, Sanji, well, Luffy's not hot, he's just cool, but that's a different matter. Maybe we'll focus it on this matter in later podcasts. And who is the hottest character? Who do you think is the hottest character in One Piece, by the way? Let me know in the comments or somewhere where you can actually contact me, because I'm really interested in what other people think about this. I do believe that King is something else. Wow. He looks awesome. He really does. And that tattoo on his face, it's a similar tattoo to Viper's. I'm going to have to read the Viper chapters to actually look at his tattoo to find out how similar they are. But I think that Vipers have a different kind of lines. It is very similar. The placement is very similar, but I think King's has leaves on it or something like that. These bumps look like leaves. So he might actually be referring to plants, perhaps. But that is just a wild guess of mine, so I'm not quite sure of that. So there you have it. That's one aspect of it. And he, as I mentioned before, he looks like Viper not just because of the tattoo. His face looks a bit like him, but not entirely. Then we had a King flashback. Oh my god, we needed a flashback so much. I mean, I'm still waiting for a Kaido flashback, but I'm really glad that we got a King flashback, how he got recruited by Kaido, and Kaido helped him escape from the some kind of laboratory. It seems like as it might have been on Punk Hazard, but you can never really tell or know. And now I understand a bit more why King and Queen don't get along, because King got experimented on, and Queen is a scientist who likes or probably liked to experiment on other people. So I think there is the hatred coming from on King's side towards Queen, and it makes perfect sense. And Kaido really looked like Roger on that picture. It is actually weird to see them, and as you see these characters, it's almost as if it was a recycled version of how Luffy met Zoro, or how other Roger met Rayleigh, and it was weird. It was definitely weird. It kind of had a Roger vibe, and even Kaido said that I am the only one who can change the world. It was a very, very powerful statement. What does it mean, though? I think that Kaido knows something, and we desperately need a Kaido flashback in order to know what he knows. I really hope that Oda will eventually get to that point. But he promised that this year Shanks is going to appear, and he didn't really appear. And there's only going to be one more chapter this year, so I highly doubt that the next chapter suddenly Shanks will walk into Wano. But who knows? I mean, in One Piece you can never really be sure about what will happen next. But still, maybe next year we are going to get some Shanks lore, which I'm not really mad about, because I wasn't really, or currently I'm not really interested in Shanks. I want to know how things in Wano will unfold, and maybe Shanks or meeting with Shanks would be too early. Well, but let's not focus on Shanks. Let's go back to Kaido and King. So King has a lot of depth towards Kaido, and Kaido was like, your name is Albert? You know what? You're so strong, and you can endure so much. You should be king, And it makes perfect sense. King is king because he is very strong, and Queen is queen because he's a drama queen. I mean, I can imagine Kaido meeting Queen is like, you're a scientist, and you are like a drama queen, so why don't you call yourself Queen? And Queen was like, you know what? That sounds awesome, because I am a queen. Zumu Zumu, as they said in the anime. I just love his theme song. It's perfect for Queen, actually. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the flashback. It was a great part of the chapter. And also King's attack, that Imperial Flame Dragon, which took the form of Kaido. Wow, that was something else. That was really, really cool. But there was also Zoro, who thought very carefully how to defeat King. And poor Zoro has his mental conversation with himself, and he was thinking, should I do this? Should I do that? Why can I defeat him like this? Maybe like that. And it's always very interesting to listen to him. And now finally everything clicked in his mind that, that King's power is related to his flames. So he was like, okay, I can do this. I can really do this. And he was boom there. And eventually, in a very, very cool way, and probably defeated King in the end. I say probably because, of course, the last slash was on the last page, so we cannot be 100% sure, but I think that it was time for King to step down, and that both Queen and King got defeated in the same chapter would actually make a lot of sense, since Sanji's and Zoro's fights have been parallel since the beginning, and they were fighting together, and I think it makes sense that they end their battles in the same chapter, and that's why Sanji had his own moments at the beginning of the chapter. I think that was the reason behind that. So that's actually kind of cool, And what I heard, although I'm not quite sure about that next week there isn't going to be any chapter, which means that the next chapter comes out as early as the 31st of December, which is actually New Year's Eve, and I'm kind of glad to finish the year off with some One Piece. It's definitely a day for celebration, and it would be kind of more difficult to do a podcast on the 24th. So I think it's great. And, at Christmas time, it's always like there's going to be a week when there is no One Piece chapter coming out. So we just have to deal with the anime, which is also very cool. And we are going to get a new opening as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to that as well. So my thoughts on the chapter, I think it was a very good chapter. The flashback was excellent. The fight was great. The Sanji part was a bit out of place for me at the beginning. So it was like, why is it here? Why is it not at the end of the previous chapter? But I know that, you have to end the chapter with a big boom or a big reveal or something like that, and you cannot end the chapter with and it's over and Sanji is falling over. I know that, but still it's kind of a weird placement for Sanji's win. So yeah, that's it for the chapter. Now let's look at the part, what are my predictions for chapter 1036? Well, my prediction is, hopefully, not hopefully, because I'm really bad at predicting One Piece chapters. I think that the next chapter will focus on the other characters like Yamato, Momonosuke. So the other characters are not necessarily on Luffy and Kaido. I'm sure that we will get a few pages of Luffy and Kaido, or a few panels, but not the entire chapter. I think the chapter, at least half of the chapter, must focus on the other characters, how they try to deal with Onigashima. Since the monster has to be stopped, Onigashima shouldn't blow up just yet. It could blow up, but I don't think that is currently happening. Maybe we go actually back to Hiyori. Who knows? So there are other things which need to be wrapped up before Luffy actually defeats Kaido. And of course, I'm waiting for a Kaido flashback, but not next chapter. Definitely not next chapter. So I think next chapter is going to be mixed with other characters, and there's going to be just a few pages of Kaido versus Luffy, and the really big things will come next year. So that's it for my review of chapter 1035, and these were my predictions for the next chapter, and probably and hopefully we are going to meet again later on. I hope you like my podcast, and I hope to see you soon. Have a really great day, and see you around next time. Bye bye.